Hello and welcome. This is Dennis Westman, your instructor, and today I would like to talk a little bit about Excel Unit A in your textbook. So the best way to work through these videos is to take your textbook and sort of follow along with me as I cover the various items within the book. Today we will be starting on page, I believe it is Excel 1, and actually Excel 2 is the first section. And that page number starts at the top with understanding spreadsheet software. And essentially, at the top of the page, this is the location where it actually defines what a spreadsheet software is. And if you look, it says an electronic spreadsheet is an application you use to perform numeric calculations and to analyze and present numeric data. That's at the very top of the page. You're probably going to see that again in an exam, so you want to make sure that you understand the definition. And then on that first page, as with the way you're going to work through most of this class, you're going to see items presented on the left-hand side that you'll work through, and on the right-hand side, you'll see additional information, examples, and those sorts of things. So it's usually a two-page process. I mentioned this in previous discussions, but essentially you'll read and work through what's on the left-hand side, and then you'll have some additional information and review on the right-hand side, and you'll just continue on page by page by page. So the first page, Excel 2, really just talks about understanding what spreadsheet software can do. You can recalculate data easily, you can change the appearance of information, create charts, share information, and really just build on anything that you've already created. One example that I like to use in my class is I keep track of my monthly bills in a spreadsheet. And I'm one of those people that I have kept track and have used this spreadsheet since the late 90s probably. So I can go back to almost any month since 1998, 99, and see what I paid on those particular bills and that sort of thing. I know it's probably a little nerdy, a little geeky, but I do use spreadsheets in my day-to-day life. My job here at Murray State, I do use spreadsheets as well. It really helps me to keep track of information, budgeting, those kinds of things. So those are the kinds of things that you can use on using spreadsheet software. Now, if you'll turn to Excel page 4, this is looking at the Excel window and identifying different parts on the window. Now, you're going to work through the steps yourself, but let me just highlight. Essentially, if you look on page 5, these are the different areas of the Excel window. At the very top, you'll have the title bar. Beneath that, you'll have the ribbon with different items like home, insert, page layout, and those kinds of things. And then you'll also have below that the actual options on the ribbon. And then looking further down, you'll have a little box that's a name box. And this is where you're able to see the cell reference, but you're also able to name that cell reference. And that'll come in handy later on in the semester whenever you are creating Excel spreadsheets. And then below that, or actually to the right of that, you have a place called the formula bar, and this is where you actually go in and type formulas, values, labels, those kinds of things. And then in the left-hand side, you have the row references, which will be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and so on. And then across the top, you'll have the column references, which will be A, B, C, D, E, and so on. And so those are your cell and references, your rows, and then your columns. And then continuing on down, you'll have the information that allows you the place, the actual spreadsheet where you'll type in the information. And then in the lower left-hand corner, you'll have the sheets names, which will be like sheet 1, sheet 2, sheet 3, and so on. And then you'll have some scroll bars on the right-hand side, and then you'll also have a scroll bar on the bottom lower right-hand side as well. Now, continuing on, let's look at formulas on page 6, and this is where you will actually begin the process of understanding formulas. Most formulas start out with an equal sign, and then they're going to have some sort of function or cell reference or so on. And this just allows the user to perform some sort of calculation or some sort of data manipulation. It's essentially an equation within that workbook. And there's some information on page 6 and then again on page 7 that talks about the different types of formulas. Page 8 talks a little bit about labels and values and what the difference is. Essentially, labels are textual type items that will include, like a name of something, north, south, east, west, that kind of thing. And then on the value side, that's where you're going to actually have the numbers that you'll type in. Continuing on to page 10, being able to edit cell entries, including your values and your labels, are pretty important. There's multiple ways to do that. You can double click or single click within the cell that you're trying to edit. You can also press something like F2 once you navigate to that cell to make the changes. And then there's some other ways. You can delete stuff by pressing the delete key, the backspace key. Page 10 really talks about that in much more detail, and you can review that as you go. Excel page 12 looks at actually entering a simple formula, and you could follow the step-by-step directions there and see the example on page 13 to see what it'll actually look like. You want to pay very close attention to this because you're going to be entering a lot of formulas, and so you want to be really comfortable with entering in formulas. And remember, most formulas are going to begin with the equal sign, and then beyond that, it'll fluctuate depending on whether you're using a function, whether you're using a arithmetic operator, or some other kind of item. Page 14 talks about the different worksheet views, and you have a page layout view, which actually allows you to see sort of the margins, the top and bottom, left and right margins. And then you have a page break preview, which allows you to see where the actual pages will break. And then subsequently you have an option to just see a normal view, which is what most people work in Excel in. And it essentially just allows you to see the rows and columns, all the cells without any interruption, any sort of presentation of the pages or the headers and footers. Page 16 talks about the different print options. This class, since it's an online class, you're not going to be printing anything and turning it in. It's all going to be electronic. So pretty much anywhere it says to print, you're not going to be printing. But this is how you would print if you need to print for your own records information, or maybe in your real life and your job. And that concludes the first chapter in Excel. Again, read through the items carefully and make sure that you work through the items on the left-hand side of each page, and then review your work on the right-hand side, and then refer to the Blackboard course site for the actual assignments for the particular unit. And if there are any questions, as usual, please feel free to go to the general class chat area and ask a question there, especially if it's a general class question, because I can answer it there and maybe answer some other folks' questions as well. Thank you. I appreciate you listening, and I want you all to have a great day.